The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in. The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in. Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Welcome to The Unhinged, a Mary Blige show. Today's guest, Mitzi Szereto. Mitzi is an American-British author, anthology editor, and short story writer whose work spans multiple genres. Her latest book, Women Who Murder, an international collection of deadly true crime tales, just came out in March. She's most recently known for her true crime franchise, The Best New True Crime Stories, now numbering 7 volumes, including Crimes of Famous and Infamous Criminals, Unsolved Crimes and Mysteries, Partners in Crime, Crimes of Passion, Obsession and Revenge, Well-Mannered Crooks, Rogues and Criminals, Small Towns and Serial Killers. A contribution from her crime fiction anthology Getting Even, Revenge Stories received the Crime Writers Association Short Story Dagger, highly commended. She has the added distinction of being the editor of the first anthology of erotic fiction to include a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. Mitzi has appeared internationally on radio and television and at major literature festivals, and has taught creative writing around the world, including at several universities in the UK. She has produced and presented the London-based web TV channel Mitzi TV and portrayed herself in the pseudo-documentary British film Lint the Movie. Welcome to the show. And we have Mitzi here today. She is an author of a book that we are going to talk about today, and that book is called Women Who Murder, an international collection of deadly true crime tales. So, Mitzi, you want to tell us and get started on how you came about writing that book? Yay, there it is. I've seen that all over. I was searching Target today, and I just want to say I saw that book come up because I was looking for books.
Oh, great.
Yes, so I saw that.
Well, I feel proud then if I'm in Target, or Target as it's called
Target.
in the more sophisticated crowd.
Right, it's Target. I did see it. I saw it online. I was like, oh, look, there's Mitzi's book. Yeah. So I didn't get the book, but I am going to order the book because I do love true crime stuff. And I don't know why, but I feel like women are a high and I don't know the statistics, but I believe that there's a high percentage of women who are into the true crime stuff. So you want to let us know how this process began for you in writing this book?
Sure. Yeah, it is interesting. It does seem like women are the bigger consumers of true crime, probably because we're usually the victims of crime. I don't know. But
right.
This is actually my 8th true crime book. Previous to this, I had 7 volumes in a series called The Best New True Crime Stories, and they were all on different subjects. And these are anthologies that I put together. I essentially put out a call, an open call. Sometimes I might speak to writers that I know of from before, and they pitch an idea to me, and then I basically say, okay, I'm interested. There's never a guarantee until I actually get the finished product and see how if it works in the book. But that's how I put the anthologies together. So I get all these really cool writers from all corners of the globe, and I write myself, so I contribute my own story since I'm the boss.
That must be nice.
Yeah. It's sometimes nice to be the boss. One of the infrequent times in life where we're the boss, right? And so I get several stories in there from all these different people, and try to give a good mix. different time frames, throw in some historical pieces, more contemporary pieces, just to kind of have a good mix. And for this particular book, I really did want to emphasize the international idea. All the books in the past have been very international in scope, which has, from what I'm hearing, this is a rather unique thing. So I kind of pioneered this whole idea, and I'm sure other people are now going to do it. But this one was specifically important for it to be international because there's some surprises in here, from countries where you don't necessarily expect to find bloodthirsty female killers.
So there's I don't know the percentage on what the female killers are, but it's not a lot, right? But it's surprising because it's mostly all men, and you hear about the men, but you never hear about the women.
Yeah, well, statistically, men are they're more violent criminals. It just seems to be the way things are. So I guess I've been asked this before about why is it that people seem to be a bit more shocked when it's women, because we just don't hear about it that much, and perhaps women just haven't had the opportunity to be doing these crimes. But, the book's got a variety of different kinds of killing. I mean, it's not like, there's some serial killers, obviously, but there's all kinds of crimes and all kinds of motivations because, we're all just people, and we react in specific ways, and people may kill for different reasons. There's no set, bullet list of why you would do it. Sometimes they'll come up with something you're like, whoa, that never even occurred to me that someone would kill for that reason.
So I don't want you to give too much away of the book. Like, what are some of the most uncommon types of crimes?
Yes, of course. I mean, there are cases in there where you could kind of see like, well, if I were in that position, it just could have been me as well. For instance, in a situation of domestic abuse, spousal abuse, where someone may feel that they don't have much choice. They're backed against the wall, and it's their life or, that person's life, and they want to save themselves. But we've got. For instance, the piece that I wrote was about Iran's first known female serial killer. And I enjoyed writing and researching that because it's just not a country you think of when it comes to serial killers. Although, interestingly enough, they've had some pretty horrible serial killers, but they've, as one, as statistically shows, they're generally men, and that is true in general for serial killers. So, I mean, this particular case was really interesting to me because of this person's motivation, whereas she didn't necessarily start out to be a serial killer and wasn't doing it because it was like a thrill, which usually it is for serial killers. She did it out of desperation and sort of turned it into a business. Yeah, well, because it was involved with theft. She was stealing women's gold jewelry, and so she needed jewelry. She was financially desperate. She had a sick child, and she came to think about it as a business. And she just became more and more cold and more calculating and more professional as she went along. So it's interesting to follow her journey of how she started out and where she ended up.
Well, I'm going to need to check into that because that is interesting. That I don't know. I guess I don't know how that would be. That's interesting that somebody would do that, but then get okay with doing it and then look at it as a business for a woman, for a female to do this. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about the men and the hitmen and stuff, but the fact that she turned it into a business and then just went with it. That's interesting. I've got to look into.
Well, that was how she, I think, justified it in her mind that, it was a business, and she just, became very skilled as she went along with each killing. She just became better and better and very tidy and then more violent as well. So you kind of wonder, something just went in her head, triggered in her brain that, she was removing herself from her own humanity. That's kind of my assumption.
So what is your history? I mean, I know you write, but is it something that you've always done from like a young age that this is what you wanted to do? Have you always been involved in that? Because you write other books too, right?
Yeah, I've been at this gig for a while. And, it's really funny how I started out. I always had a talent for writing, and even in school, I mean, my teachers were always like, oh my God, you wrote this poem. And I used to write poetry. I mean, believe it or not, I was quite good at it.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was always doing something creative, even as a child. I was involved in art, so I would draw, I would paint, I would write, I would play musical instruments, and it was. I probably could have had three different careers, or if I could have cloned myself into three different people and had a career in each of those areas, that would have been great. But I was actually going toward a career in fine art, and that was what I was doing academically, and I was quite serious about it. I was doing a whole bunch of paintings, trying to get them shown, get them into galleries, and then I decided to go get a journalism degree. I don't know. I guess I thought it would be more practical. And instead of becoming a journalist, it sort of reignited my desire to write. And it was like, bang, right after that, I just went full on into it and began writing.
Wow. That's interesting. I am not great at writing. That's not what I'm good at. So no,
Well, you're good at podcasting, so there's a talent.
yeah, podcasting. I talk about stuff that I can relate to, but I do love a true crime book. Like I'm the high percent of women that do love that. So I wanted to ask you when you write, what is the most challenging part of writing a book? What's the most challenging part?
Oh, well, I have been doing the true crime now for it's been since before COVID started. I guess when did my first true crime book was the Best New True Crime Stories, Serial Killers, and I think that came out in this is 2024, so I think it was 2019. Was it? God, I don't even know how it's 2024. But so I mean, the true crime, I have to say, has been the most challenging to me, more so than fiction. And the one thing is that my journalism studies and my journalism background did come in handy, because all those things that I learned, I kind of brought back. Such as having it, creating content with some integrity, not being exploitive. I mean, with true crime, it used to have a bad rap. I mean, I think that's changed for most, writers right now. But it was trying to put something out there that wasn't exploiting anyone. It wasn't, some people may be alive, victims might be alive, family members might be alive, even the perpetrators might be alive. And it's kind of trying to create something with some balance and some fairness, and, creating something where you see both sides. Sometimes the criminal side is not much good you can say about it, but it's, and like I said, all integrity, something that's not going to be exploitive, that's not sensationalist. So that's been the challenge, both with my own writing and with working with writers who want to be in the book, to make sure that everyone's sort of complying with that as well.
So for the victims that are still alive, or the family members or the perpetrators themselves, do you have to get permission from? How do you go about that? Do you have to get permission from them, or no?
No. I mean, obviously, if things have been reported on, then they've been reported on. But I did one piece, personally speaking, that I wrote, that I did do a lot of interviews with people. I didn't interview the perpetrator's family or the perpetrator, but I was privy to actually having a contact that knew a whole bunch of police officers who'd worked the case. So I was able to get some really excellent bird's eye view from the police that were having to deal with this crime scene and this whole situation. It was a mass shooting incident. Where several people were killed.
Wow.
But from as far as getting permission, no. I know there are some true crime writers that, like, for instance, if they do an entire book on one case,
Mhm.
obviously, if you're doing something like, say, 80,000 words or longer, you need some content, and that's quite different from, say, a 6,000 word story.
Okay.
You know, and they generally will reach out to whoever they can reach out to. But I can't remember who it is offhand, but a quite popular true crime writer has kind of, she's sort of ready to throw in the towel because now everyone wants to be paid just to be interviewed, and not quite realizing that's not financially viable for an author to do.
Right. I had somebody speaking of that, I had somebody to say, "Hey, I got a good interview for you, but it's going to cost you. And if it goes viral," and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
no, we'll just move it on."
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what they think. I mean, if they think there's some big pot of gold somewhere that they're say a writer's going to be able to pay all these people. I mean, we have to be paid too.
Right.
And there's a lot of work that goes into these books. And, as you know, as well, as a podcaster, the revenue stream could be very small if there is a revenue stream. So
Yeah, correct.
I don't know. I guess people are deluded.
Well, they figured that you're going to write a book, and if you're mentioning like my story, it's going to be worth a lot. So I'm going to need you to pay. I think that's what people think.
Well, you know what? Then they should write their own story, or get a
Right.
ghostwriter to write their story and get a book deal out of it, and then they can keep all the whatever royalties that come in.
Yeah, that's true. So the research that you do when you're creating the book, how do you approach it? How do you approach all that before when you're starting out for a book?
Well, from my own perspective, I can really only speak from my own stories because I'm not quite sure what everyone else does, although they probably do the same thing. You get the theme, and then you try to find a case. And the challenge is to find a case that hasn't been done to death. As you know, there's just so many true crime TV series and podcasts, and obviously books, and trying to find something that either hasn't been flogged to death, so to speak, or find something that you could put a new spin on it if it's a familiar case to people. And for instance, when writers contact me and they have a story that they're interested in pursuing, but it's someone that it's like a household name, my challenge to them is, okay, what are you going to say that's new? What are you going to put in this story to maybe get someone thinking in a different way? And then if they still want to do that, they're welcome to go ahead. But when I do a story, I just I try to find something that's like a bit off the beaten track. Sometimes I, like, for instance, know what people have pitched to me, and I say, okay, I've got this many stories from the US that sound promising, this many from Canada, this many from the UK, this many from Australia, this many from wherever. So then I try to find a place that has not been covered by anyone and probably is so off the wall no one would think of even searching for a case in that specific country. So that's what I do. I sometimes set myself up, shoot myself in the foot, because you deal with things like translations, trying to find content when it's a country that may be a bit more closed. Yeah, it's you're like you really dig all these rabbit holes, and then you keep following down the rabbit hole in another direction and another, and you just have to ferret out whatever you can ferret out. And then the most challenging thing is the fact checking.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say that. So when you get your theme, when you start off and say, okay, this is what my theme is, how long is that whole process from beginning to end? But what is the real, like, what for you, speaking for you writing this book, especially this latest book, how long is that process? Because you had other people on there, you had to get all that information, right? How long was
Yeah.
that process?
Yeah, you've got several writers that you have to crack the whip and say, okay, look, I'm getting close to my delivery date. And then, when you when I get this, when I get the work in, and then I do my editing, and have to, maybe I might have to go back and forth with the writer a handful of times and get them to tweak things, or maybe there's an area that they could develop a bit more. So it all depends. Some writers I spend more time with, and some I don't really need to spend that much time with. But in the publishing business, the amount of time from start to finish and publication, this is kind of unusual. It's actually a relatively fast process, from the time I get my contract to the time I have the actual publication. It could be about a year, but some publishers sit on a book for 2 or 3 years before it comes out. And when you're dealing with something like this, it could get a bit stale, or sometimes things can change. If you have a story that maybe there's still parts that could be down the line, new, like if say the perpetrator's in prison, but maybe they're going to get parole. You don't really want your book to come out like when your stuff's obsolete.
Right. That's still a long time. And then still have to wrangle everybody together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then of course, everybody's got
the boss
schedule. Yeah, everybody has got their life. They have their own schedules. They may have they might have a day job. They may have, family things that they have to deal with. And it's like, okay, come on. I got, I can give you an extra week. I have that where I've done this many times. I try to tell them to give me the delivery date earlier than I actually need it, because I know already. But, I've had people where I've basically had them in at the last minute, but they really believed in what the story that they were doing, and I knew it would be worth it. But, you get some gray hairs from that.
No, thank you. I'll leave that to the experts. All right. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, can you share some insights into your writing process and any rituals or routines that you have? Uh-oh.
No, I'm just laughing because I'm probably the worst person to ask. I just sort of have this random, erratic writing schedule that I feel guilty because I'm not doing enough of what I should be doing. Because I'm doing like lots of social media and promo and podcasts.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, that's the way the game is, But God, I don't think I can even write. I would say don't do what I do.
Don't do what you do.
Don't do what I do. Don't listen to anything I say.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that one if there's time. So out of all of your books, if any of those books were adapted into film or TV, like how would you envision that? And is there a book that you would like to see done that way?
With the true crime books, because we have each chapter being a totally different story, that would be a tough one. I actually had been contacted in the past by a couple of television production companies that were doing some true crime. And unfortunately, nothing came of it. But I mean, I was sort of thinking already that this could be kind of difficult, when you've got like a story that is some far-fetched country. I mean, from a financial perspective, a production company in LA that maybe produces their stuff in LA, how much money are they going to spend on a segment? Is everyone going to fly to Macedonia? You know what like one piece that I wrote was set in Macedonia, so I think for the true crime, it might be a little bit difficult. I mean, I suppose if somebody took a specific chapter out, they could do that. But other books that I've done, as far as adapting in a film, I'm trying to think now what would have worked for a film. I did do a really funny Pride and Prejudice sex parody. I think that would have been great fun to do.
A comedy?
Yeah. It was completely off the wall, outrageous. And funny enough, it was called Pride and Prejudice: Hidden Lusts, and I
I
meant
love
it. I
it.
meant it. Yeah, I meant it as to be over the top, totally ridiculous. And the British readers really got that, but the American readers just sort of like went over. They just didn't
Whenever.
get it at all. Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
a little, yeah, I think it's a little different. I just think that on this side, we need to calm down a bit and just just be light about it. But that's just me. Don't come for me, my audience. Don't come for me. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, there are some shows that we watch BBC on that we watch that he loves to watch, that my husband loves to watch. Yeah, we'll get into some of that comedy. It's fun. So,
Yeah. It's British humor. I'm also British, naturalized British, and I think I probably came from I think perhaps I just was born in the wrong country initially, because I get that, but I kind of don't get the American stuff at all.
yes, that's hilarious. All right, but like I said, don't come for me, people. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so the other question I want to ask is, what is the most surprising thing you've learned during writing process?
Oh. Oh,
Uh oh.
it doesn't really get easier, and through the actual process, God, I don't know if you can ever feel totally confident in your work, no matter how many books you put out and how much praise you may get or maybe not get. Um, I think it's just so easy to second guess ourselves. I mean, I'm actually working on a novel right now, and I was like really excited about it, and I kind of told some friends, ran through what the whole book is about, and they're like, "Yeah, I'd read that." And then you come back from a slight break, and you start working on it, and you start thinking, oh, I don't know. Maybe I should work on that other one.
So have you ever thought of asking other people that you don't know? Have you ever asked, because you said you asked your friends about it and they said, yeah, they would read it, but have you thought about asking other people that you don't know?
I'm very closed mouthed about my projects, and there's a good
Yeah, I
reason
can
for
see
that.
why.
There's a lot of pilfering out there,
Mhm.
and especially with anthologies. So I'm really closed mouthed about my concepts for that. But even for novels, I mean, I've never really sought feedback from strangers. I'm not one of those workshop types of people, and that like, because I think when you put a bunch of people together, especially in a workshop where primarily you're probably going to have people who have never been published before, and you're going to have a lot of ego, and you're going to have a lot of perhaps jealousy. So I kind of avoid that environment completely. I
Understandable.
don't think I think that whole idea that everyone sings kumbaya and they all love each other, I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to be careful because there is a lot of that going around. So, um, I know
I
that.
mean, even a novel, even though this
Yeah.
specific novel that I'm doing I don't think anyone could ever come up with exactly what I'm doing. It's just probably impossible. But if I made this public exactly what it was about, who knows? Who knows? Someone could kind of use that idea and just create their own characters, and then there you go. You send it to an agent or a publisher, and they'll say, well, hang on, so and so sent me something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. Uh,
Yeah.
so the book that you have, the new one, The Women Who Murdered, that's out already. Where can I know that I saw it on Target for
Target.
our
Yeah.
fancy people out there. Target for those who are not fancy like me. Target. But you have a website, right? Where
Yes,
they
I
can
do.
go there.
MitziSeretto.com. And all my books are listed on there. I put some nice handy links so people can just go and click, and they could go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Chapters Indigo, Waterstones, Fish Pond, whatever country they're in, and find the books that way. And I've just essentially told you some of the places that sell the
Yeah.
books.
So is true crime like your favorite thing to write about?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm kind of like when you ask a band what their favorite album is, and it's always like the one they just put out. That's kind of me. Yeah, But I like to work in a whole bunch of areas, and I really am looking forward to getting a bit more stuck into fiction again, because that was kind of my thing. The nonfiction, even before I started with true crime, I did do some nonfiction. And like I said, with my journalism background, that kind of just feeds right into this. But this true crime is exhausting. I think this is probably the hardest work I've ever done as far as books. And oddly, someone might say, well, how can you say that when you didn't write the whole book, when you have stories from, say, another 14 writers? But trust me.
Would it be the research part of it, though?
It's just grueling. I mean, imagine, you're editing all these different people, fact checking all these people, re-fact checking, because, mistakes get made. People might do research, and then perhaps that research site or the source that they found isn't accurate. So I try to make this as error-free as I can possibly make it. Because it says it's true crime, and true is that, true. You don't want to keep perpetuating incorrect information. And so, the fact checking is like a nightmare. And like I said, editing all these different people and just getting the whole book together, it's a lot of work. Yeah, fiction's like a holiday.
So, did I read somewhere that you also did like fantasy and goth fantasy? Or was I?
I've done sort of gothic fiction, gothic romance. I'm one of those people that does lots of different kind of, I work in different genres, and I don't like being pigeonholed. And that's a real disadvantage in the publishing industry, because they want to pigeonhole you. Wow. It's like, well, hang on, you just wrote a cozy mystery, so how can you possibly write a horror novel? I'm a writer, that's how. And I really wish we could dispense with these pigeonholing things that are foisted upon us as writers, because it sells us short, and it limits people too, that they maybe can't do something that they'd like to, or if they do it, they have to come up with a pseudonym, which is kind of antithetical to the point of having established yourself as a writer, that you're going to come up with a fake name.
Oh my gosh. So is there a preference that you would prefer? I know you said that true crimes is exhausting. It's more work, because there's more work, more research, more fact checking. But is there one that you prefer over the other?
Well, as I said, I'm really kind of in the mood now to get back into some fiction. And I really enjoyed writing my cozy mystery satire books with my famous bear, Teddy Tetaloo.
Yes, I saw him. I love him.
He wanted to say hello.
Oh my gosh, he is so adorable. I love him.
He is.
I see him in all your in your pictures, and there was something that you had. I think you were sitting somewhere and having a drink of some sort, and you had him with you. Does he accompany you? Beer. Oh, okay, gotcha. Does he accompany you everywhere?
I accompany him everywhere.
Oh, okay.
I'm the driver. I'm the chauffeur, and I'm the one who pays.
Now, is he with you when you're doing all the writing?
Yeah. If you listen to his social media, he takes credit for everything. Apparently, I'd be nowhere without him.
Wow. Way to go. Way to
talk about hubris.
That's hilarious.
I'll have him sit down now. He's honked out. So, I mean, we wrote those cozy mysteries together, and even though they're called cozy, they're very satiric, and I really enjoyed that. And there's two books. One is there's the theme is and it's the protagonist is a bear. He's an actual bear. He's a photojournalist, and so you follow his adventures and misadventures, and you kind of get an idea of what life would be like for, say, a diminutive bear who's trying to live in a human world. It's challenging. So we wrote two books, the Thelonious T. Bear Chronicles. The first one was called Normal for Norfolk. which that's Norfolk, England, not the one in the States.
Okay.
And the second one was called Rotten Peaches, which is set in Georgia. Yeah.
How did I
And yeah,
think that?
that was really fun. And
Oh,
those readers keep saying, are you going to do more books? And I'm like, I'd love to, but I only have so many hours in a day.
but are you going to do more of those?
We planned one. We actually planned one some years ago, and then I kind of had to shelve it. And then that same idea, we decided we would move it to a different location. We were thinking Canada, but I just haven't been able to get with him and work on it. I hope I live long enough to do all these books that I have.
There's always a whole bunch. So I'm hoping that you can get back to doing those. Yeah, for sure. Because I would want to read those.
They were just such fun. They were just such fun, and just also, like I said, the whole satire thing. I love satire.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So I'm gonna expect that maybe one day you're gonna work on a new one.
Yeah. Everyone just keep poking me. His friends are always asking him, like, well, where's the next book ready?
Oh, I'm trying to get that answer for my audience, but we don't have an answer on that yet, people. All right, I got one more question for you. So, if your readers could remember only one thing about your book, what would you want it to be about?
My books or book? This specific one, maybe?
I'll let you decide if it's books or book.
Oh, God. Well, why don't we just? Well, yeah, I know. Why don't we? Well, let's just leave it in the true crime thing, and then I will say that maybe that the books had integrity. Hopefully,
you guys got to go out there and get the book. Can you hold that book up again for everybody?
I certainly can.
I am going to put the links up for everybody so that she does have a website, and it's Mitzi Szereto. And I will put the links up for everybody so y'all can go and get those books. But the true crimes. So the true crimes, I am a big thing of true crimes. But I love any book that catches my attention. So I want to get that one because I saw it and I meant to do it, and I got so busy today, and I said, well, I'm just gonna order it. I don't know if you have it on Audible, but I like the book. I'm an old school where I like the book. There's just something about it. And, I have people that will say, well, you just download the audio. And I'm like, nah, I want the book because I want to be able to read stuff. But I'm really into the big true crime stuff. But is there...
I'm hoping this is speaking of audio books, but I do hope that this will be an audio book. Right now, I'm not sure, but the other true crime books, many of them are available in audio books. So, I know a lot of people have done both. They like to have the audio book, and then they like to have the print or the an ebook. So it's like, yeah, that's okay. You can buy more than one of the, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Well, see, I do have half of my people of friends do like the audible stuff, but I like, and I'm like with the other half, we like the book because I can read it and then I can just imagine it myself. So to me, it's a lot better to do that, but that's just my personal preference. It's whatever you people out there want. Okay. But I know we're running out of time, but do you have, what was your website again? One more time for people.
MitziSereto.com.
There you go. It's simple. And Szereto is SZERETO. Okay.
Correct.
Mitzi, MITZI. For everybody out there who kind of got stuck like somebody I know and it's like, are you sure that's how you say the name? And how do you spell it?
Yeah, it's a fancy Hungarian name. Hungarians like to do things like, over the top with our names.
That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, Mitzi, I know you're out of time or we're out of time, but I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to have you back on soon again so that we can talk about more of your projects. And for everybody out there, the latest is Women Who Murder, an international collection of deadly true crime tales. So there you go. And I'll have the link up for everybody at the end of this video as well. So I want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast and sharing your experiences with us. I truly appreciate it. Well, Mitzi, Welcome to the Unhinged, a Mary Blige show. Until the next conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
You're
for having me.
welcome.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
The unhinged where nothing is hidden. We talking so get in.
Listen.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Mary, blah, blah.
Show.
Welcome